What's up, guys? It's Lee here. Today I'm gonna be showing combos that my go-to combos with the branded Dracotail build. The first combo I'm gonna show is branded fusion plus any monster. If I stumble on my words or something like that, I'm very tired right now. It's a little late, so let's just get straight into it. So the first combo I'm gonna showcase ends on 3 fusions and 2 set. So we'll activate Branded Fusion, sending our Albaz and our Phyrexial to summon a Sanctifier Dragon. The Sanctifier is very good in this scenario, you'll see why. You can then activate Phyrexial's effect to set Key 2. We can then activate our Key 2 to add Lucius from deck to hand. Normal summoning Lucius and using its effect to add 5 mana. 5 mana can then activate in your hand to fuse Lucius and the monster in your hand to summon Arthalion. Chainlink 1 Arthalion, target 5 mana. Chainlink 2 Lucius to set Rahu. Add 5 mana back to hand with Arthalion, and then activate Rahu. Summon Gulamel, sending Urgla from deck and 5 mana from hand, using both of their effects to set the traps. Then using Urgla's effect to put it back into the deck to add 5 mana back to hand. At minimum, you have around 5 disruptions. Now, each of these cards that we're looking at are pretty much a disruption. At minimum, you will have a 5 mana to fuse with. You have 3 extra cards in hand, probably will be monsters. If they are, you can fuse into another Arthalion. Gulamel can pop one, chaining directly to a Dracotail monster. And then your traps will draw 2 cards for you, which for your 5 mana can fuse with. You can also summon a Guardian Chimera with this. Your Sanctifier can rewarn an Albaz to your field to discard and fusion summon, which can fusion summon into your Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn, which is another disruption in the form of a banish by sending either Titaniclad or Albion. The great thing that this can do is if you Albaz, fuse your summon onto your opponent's light or dark monster, you can summon your Albion, or even better, if it's a dark, you can summon your Lubellion, discard a card, fusing your Lubellion and Albaz to summon a Mirror Jade. Your Mirror Jade can then send an Albion from your extra to the graveyard to banish a card on the field. And into your end phase, you can set your other branded fusion, which, when it comes back to your turn, oops, let me just fix this real quick. When it comes back to your turn, you can use branded fusion to summon any of your other branded monsters. That's the first combo, and now we'll move straight into the next. The next combo I'm going to show off is your Lucius plus a Dracotail monster plus any monster. So kind of a 3-card combo, very easy to pull off though. This happens a lot. So we will normal summon Lucius, use its effect to search 5 mana. 5 mana will then activate, fusing the Dracotail monster in hand with the other monster to summon Arthalion. You can then activate Arthalion's effect to add back the monster you fused with and the 5 mana. And you can then use both 5 mana. You can then use the effect of the Dracotail monster that you fused with to set Rahu Dracotail. You can then link off Lucius for your Blue-Eyed Spirit Dragon, which you can then link with your Arthalion to summon Seals. You can then activate Rahu Dracotail to fuse your 5 mana and an Urgla in deck to summon Gulamel. You then use the 2 effects of the Dracotail monsters that you fused with to set 2 traps. And this is your end board. On your opponent's turn, you can do one of 2 things. Since this ends on a monster in your hand, plus 3 other cards, which can be hand traps. You also draw 2 cards with your traps. The chances are impossible that all of these cards are spell or traps. There will always be at least 1 or 2 monsters, but you will be drawing more cards later. Assuming you drew another monster, what you can do is activate Seals to bounce a monster back to the hand, and then use its effect to summon Malulu from your deck. Malulu has a quick effect where it can fuse during the main phase. Camera's always getting messed up. Its effect where you can fuse into the main phase. You can then fuse with itself, plus the guaranteed monster that you have in hand, plus another monster that you drew off of the trap cards. And you can fuse into a Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera can then pop a card on the field and draw you 2 cards, possibly into hand traps or more follow-up. And Gulamel will get you a pop. Malulu will also negate a card on the field once it is used as a fusion material. So, the ceiling is pretty low, but with your extra draws and card advantage, you will draw into even more disruptions. Another thing you can do, which I forgot to mention with Seals, is if they summon a Snatchy, and the only card they control is a Snatchy, the best thing you can do in that situation, or if they have a Snatchy plus field spell, or a Snatchy plus, if they have a Snatchy plus field spell, you can use the Seals effect to bounce their field spell back to hand, and then from your deck, as long as it's still in there, you can summon an Albaz, discard, fuse with the Snatchy and the Albaz to summon a Mirror Jade. This gives you a Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn, which you can then send in Albion, which can set a branded fusion in the end phase. Some other things I wanted to talk about, excuse me, for the Dracotail cards is the weaknesses. So one of our biggest weaknesses is Herald of the Arclight. It's a card that they can kind of just keep up as long as you don't kill it. It being 1,000 defense makes it very easy to hit over, but what can we do against it if we have a hand like this? This is just a random hand I picked up. How we can play around Herald is very interesting because they have ways to stop us, but we have ways to stop their Herald with this hand. I think best option here would be normal summon Malulu and then go straight into battle and hit the Herald. Although they have ways to stop that, like the Akroki. But as long as we don't start a chain, we are fine. Because the Malulu can punch it. They can't activate the Synchros if the Malulu doesn't start a chain. And if we can get rid of that, then we have plays. I also wanted to talk about the going second of Dracotail. A lot of times you're going second and you think, well, they can just Ash the key to, or they can just negate the key to. It's, for a lot of players, it's not going to be the first thing they think about negating when Arthalion is still in the extra deck. I feel like Q2 is very safe. It's a very safe card. And also, what I also wanted to discuss was some people talking about a board breaker version of Dracotail. I think that this is very bad. No bueno. Because with With board breaker decks, you need to also remember that they need lots of card advantage generated in a single turn. Dracotail doesn't do that. Dracotail generates card advantage over time. Like, for example, during your opponent's turn, if you fuse with 5 mana, and you're able to make trap cards set or spells set, that is very good card advantage on your opponent's turn. During your turn, it's kind of inherent card advantage, being like where you're getting card advantage in the combos, which almost every single deck does. So you have to remember is with Dracotail, they need monsters in hand to use their effects. If you get a hand where, I mean, this hand is insane. This hand is absolutely cracked. Show it to you guys here. I mean, this hand is one of those crazy going second hands that I wish I saw during the regional. But, I mean, this is just... The thing with Dracotail is you have to think about, you have great going second opportunities, but you have to play your cards right. You don't need a board breaker build in Dracotail when you're playing a 3-of that inherently breaks boards just by fusing. If they let your Phimena go off, or if they let your Arthalion resolve, or your Rahu resolve, or your Kitu resolve, there shouldn't be a world going second with Kitu resolving that you lose. Because as soon as they let that go off into, like, maybe K9 Vanquish Soul, where they have more board state interruptions and not, like, inherent negates, like Ripper or Masquerade or Horror, they have more cards like Rosin, which will pop the column, or Vanquish, or the Dust Devil, or the Snow Devil, I believe, that pops the entire field. And also cards like Holly Sue. These cards don't really affect Dracotail too much. The Rosin can be a little problematic if you don't have enough monsters to work with. But you don't even have to worry about the Ripper or the or specifically the Ripper, if you resolve a Kitu. Because as soon as you resolve Kitu, and let's say you have a Pan in hand, which in most scenarios you should have a Pan in hand, because it's a 3-of, and you add, let's say, an Urgula, or, for this example, we'll just say an Urgula, and you immediately fuse those both into an Arthalion, you should be winning. One, because VSK9 sucks and it's washed, but you should be winning if you resolve a key to add Urgula off the pan or something like that. You should win this duel, right? This is very winnable. You just activate Urgula, chain pan, chain Arthalion, target whatever you want to target, and you basically just blow their entire back out. No homo. But what most players are mostly afraid of is the yummy boards. VSK9 is washed and sucks, so nobody cares about it anymore. But the yummy boards are very scary, especially with Herald. Now, ways to get around Herald are like Metal Tronus or board breakers. But again, like I said, playing a hand trap version of Dracotail, since the board breakers are mostly traps and spells or something like that, cards like Fenrir are really good into the yummy board. Some of the Bestials are really good into the yummy board. So, like, going second against Yummy, I like to side in the Fenrirs and the Bestials. Because, for one, Fenrir, when it summons, it doesn't start a chain. It can easily beat over the Herald. Fenrir can then banish a card on the field. Then we can add another Fenrir to our hand if we want to. The Bestials are great because you can banish Yummy names in the graveyard. Like, if they only have one Cupsy, it's really good to get that out of there, because a lot of times they'll end on like 4 or 5 cards in hand, and their Cupsy is just getting them more advantage. Being able to banish their Cupsy is really strong. And then also, let's say, hypothetical, you have like a Druis and a Fenrir. You can always special the Fenrir, hit into the Herald, banish the Herald so like the Sorrow Cat can't revive it. I'm pretty sure Sorrow Cat can't revive banish cards. And then link these off for an SP if you really have like no plays, and then trigger the Druis Worm. But honestly, even just sitting on a Fenrir is pretty good into Yummy. Activating their link, and then you just Fenrir banish it. Because going first into Yummy, sometimes I like to side in my Fenrirs. if I'm feeling lucky that day, I guess, because you get to summon your Fenrir, add your Fenrir back, so you have more card advantage there, and then you can just fuse with the Fenrirs with your Fimena if you're missing a monster or something like that. But like after you summon the Fenrir, you can just go normal summon Lucius, add Fimena, pop off from there, get full combo, plus you get a Fenrir. Yummy also shouldn't be beating your end board. There's lots of things you can do. You're very insulated against Yummy. Your end board is usually, statistically, I've had end boards where I have all 3 traps more than I haven't had all 3 traps. As long as you're playing your trap cards correctly, and they're playing some bullshit like Harpy's Feather Duster in the main deck, 3 traps, it just seems like you should win that. Because in a lot of scenarios, I have my end board usually consists of 5 mana in hand, seals plus an or a Golemel. Because a lot of hands can do that. So like my board would be something like this. But then you have to make the decision if you want to summon an Albaz off of the seals, I guess, versus maybe a Malulu. Because Malulu, what it can do is summon a Guardian Chimera very easily, get you more draws, negate a card on the field. But Albaz can also be good. You can, because they can only activate one of the field spells. So you can just seals, bounce the field spell. Albaz can hit the Snatchy, and this can target the field spell to Mignon if you don't want to do the Albaz. Sting can just banish the field spell as well if it's in Grave. Mostly what you want to target is the field spell. If you can't, it's fine. Horn can also bounce back a Snatchy so they can't synchro summon. Only in certain scenarios though. Like if they only have field spell plus Snatchy, as on summon of Snatchy or on the activation of the Mignon, it's pretty good to horn the Snatchy. Just because it's very... I guess what I'm trying to get at is our Yummy matchup after Phyrexial released and Sting released, and people have solved the deck a little more, and Brand Fusion 2 and the consistency updates, and being able to play hand traps. Our matchup like into Yummy is 1,000 times better, in my opinion. Our matchup into K9 VS, it's hard to say because I haven't played against any K9 VS because they're washed, and everything like that. They're washed, they suck, K9 VS pussies, things like that, vaginas and all that good stuff. A lot of people don't talk about this. Cyber Dragon K9. I'm telling you guys, that stuff is crazy. This sleeve is a little damaged. Swap that out. Cyber Dragon K9 goes hard sometimes. There's been times where I'm literally never able to even win against that deck, no matter what I do. But you know what? They're kind of washed as well. L deck. At this point, I'm just trying to hit that 20-minute mark. You know me, I need to get my ad revenue. Just kidding, I don't have enough subs for that. But I think that really is all I needed to say. I didn't talk too much about this kind of stuff in the deck profile just because I wanted that to be cut clean and simple. I didn't want to have to, you know, talk about all this stuff. About the whole Dracotail. I don't know. I believe Dracotail definitely deserves its second place on the tier list of decks. In my opinion, the tier list of decks goes like Yummy in first, Dracotail second, VSK9 third. Mitsurugi is definitely the underdog of this format. Mitsurugi. Let's talk about that matchup. Very interesting. Definitely siding in the Bestials for the Mitsurugi matchup. And then also siding in like Droll for the Mitsurugi matchup. This card is GOAT. Like this is end all be all against Mitsurugi. You Droll them, on the Saji search or the prayers search, and it's pretty much like they can't play anymore. And then you can just OTK them with your Dracotail cards. That's all I wanted to say. I guess just mess around with Dracotail if you're a Dracotail player. If you're getting into Dracotail, I recommend that you watch my deck profile. I will be uploading more videos Dracotail centered, since this is the deck I will be maining for the foreseeable future. This deck just seems to have such good potential over the other decks that I've been playing this format, like Canine Crystron. I might release a deck profile for that. I just don't find Canine Crystron as satisfying or as good especially in the grind game, as Dracotail is. Being as Dracotail just literally has the infinite recursion of the 3 traps. I guess in the OCG they're releasing a new Dracotail monster, fusion monster. I love a new fusion monster. I just don't want it to suck, right? So, I have no need to talk about that. I guess that's all I really wanted to talk about for a Dracotail discussion. Well, peace out, guys. Have a good one. Like so I can buy a mention, and see you in the next one.